Welcome everybody to Moderate Mods, and yeah, we're going to be taking a look at the 1991 BMW M3 and seeing if this classic car can actually be improved any further. Now, I know there's probably a lot of people out there that would think this is perfect, and in a lot of ways it is a really good car. Looks great, sounds great, and yeah, for the time was a really good handling car, but there's no doubt that you can do better with this car now. Technology's moved on, brakes, tyres, suspension, power as well, even though this car is hardly lacking in power. But yeah, it certainly isn't as competitive as it used to be. So yeah, we're going to get into rivals. This is actually one of the few above D-class cars that we've had on this series. I think it's probably the only one, actually, trying to think about it now. But yeah, still, it's a great car in its stock form. As you can see, handling, braking, launch, acceleration and speed are all really rather good. And it has a decent amount of power at 215 horsepower from its 2.3 litre inline 6 engine. I think it's inline 6, it might be inline 4. It sounds like an inline 6 to me, but either way, yeah. And it doesn't weigh all that much either, it's only 2,762 pounds. Has near 50-50 weight distribution, it's rear wheel drive front engine. So yeah, there's no doubt that there's a lot right with this car, but yeah, I definitely feel that there's some room for improvement on this. Not to the extent that it's going to be something completely different to what it is. Obviously we're not going to spend all that much money on it, but I do feel like there is going to be some room for improvement. So yeah, let's see what this car can do in its stock form first. Nice high revving engine as well. And yeah, a lot of people do love this era of BMWs, which, to be honest, I don't have the most amount of love for, but I can definitely see why people do, because you know, they were back to a more basic time with, you know, manual gearboxes, no traction control, just you and the pedals and the engine and all that lot between you and going into a tree. And yeah, also still a solid sports car in its own right, even if it doesn't quite match sports cars of today. But then again, it is, you know, 30 years old now, so I guess it's no real surprise. Does seem to oversteer a fair old bit. Doesn't seem to have the most traction at the rear, which is surprising given it's not got the most amount of torque or horsepower. Plenty quick, as you can see. Many cars have been doing more than 100 across the finish line there, and a time of 1 minute 15.509. Which is probably one of our fastest, if not the fastest, first lap time we've had on this series. Currently being beaten by an upgraded Mini. And that vehicle does look like it has far wider tyres than it normally would, and probably more power as well. Yeah, this is definitely one of those cars that I wish I could actually review, but I do like to review cars I can actually see the engine of, as a bonus the boot, but sadly I cannot with this car, which is a bit of a shame because it is a classic. But yeah, 1 minute 6.517 for our second lap time there. Let's see if we can improve on our final lap. Definitely going to have to sort out the traction on this, because it's certainly not the best. Then again, I'm not the best driver either, so maybe it's me, but I always say that a car should at least be able to be manageable to most people and fun when you want it to be. This does seem to constantly want to slide around, which is all well and good when you want to have fun, but when you're actually trying to set a serious lap time, it's not helpful whatsoever. Are we going to improve on this final lap? Nope. There we go. 1 minute 6.517 is our final and fastest time there. So yeah, let's get into the garage and see if this piece of German auto engineering can be improved. So here is the car in all its glory. I just checked, it is an inline 4. Don't know why I thought it would be an inline 6. Did sound kind of like one. But yeah, pretty small car in comparison to what M3 is like now. Generally to most cars in fact. But yeah, let's just take a look at the acceleration times first. See what we're initially dealing with. So yeah, 0 to 60 in 7.018 seconds, 0 to 117 seconds, and into 156, 155 miles an hour, depending on whether or not it's actually got the limiter on it or the rule where German car manufacturers said they would only make cars that go 155 would actually come in force at that point. But regardless, still really rather quite quick for only 215 horsepower. So engine wise, well, I don't think we're going to be swapping anything out, even though yeah, large inline 6 would probably be more suitable for this. We can even put an M5 V10 in or a newer M3 V8 in it. But yeah, standard engine is fine. Don't think turbocharging is going to be much good for it either. Definitely going to widen the tyres though, because just solve the traction issues we keep seeming to have. We'll improve the clutch, we'll improve the driveline a fair old bit. Now gearbox doesn't need changing, it's a pretty good gearbox already to be honest. We'll give it street brakes to match the kind of handling we've already got. We'll give it sporty suspension. We'll improve the anti-roll bars completely. And we'll lop a little bit of weight out of it. Right, power wise. Well, you could get at this car actually going up to a 2.5 litre. So we'll put it up to 2.4 just to get it as close to that as possible. Because there's a healthy 17 extra horsepower there. It's actually quite a sporty engine already, so we don't really need to put anything street-wise in it. So we'll give it a sporty intake, street fuel system, street ignition. Don't think we need to sportier exhaust to be honest. And a sport valves. Take it up to 260, nice round number. We'll give it a racing flywheel to knock off some weight and make it a bit more of a free revving engine. And yeah, I think that's about it to be honest. Doesn't really seem to need anything else. Can we do any body work? Yeah, we can, but it doesn't really make it look any better to be honest. Definitely needs a spoiler, but I don't think it needs any additional spoilers. So yeah, there we go. 23,350 in terms of credits. Not the cheapest car that we've had, but we've definitely done enough in terms of improvements. We've now bumped it up by 45 horsepower. We've knocked out a fair chunk of weight there, 77 pounds I think, there we are, yeah. So yeah, decent amount of extra power, less weight, wider tyres, better suspension, better brakes, and yeah, more free revving engine to go along with the extra power and torque. And we're now doing 0 to 60 in 6.296 seconds, so we're more than nearly 0.8 of a second quicker. Now doing 0 to 114.164 seconds, so nearly 3 seconds quicker or thereabouts. And now we're doing 165 miles an hour at the top end, so about 9 miles an hour quicker than stock. So yeah, let's get back onto the circuit and see what this car can do. So we've actually gone up to B class. I think this is actually the first car that we've had at this high of a class, but yeah, still a really good car in every way now. Braking and handling is more evenly matched, the launch is really good, and acceleration and speed are pretty much the same as well in terms of stats. And yeah, 260 horsepower now, 218 pounds-feet of torque, so we've got 38 pounds-feet of torque extra, 45 extra horsepower, about 77 pounds less in the way of weight, and a slightly larger engine. Displace front and rear balance is still 51-49%, but yeah, that's still a reasonable amount. I doubt you could actually improve that balance without, you know, stripping the entire car out. So yeah, obviously we don't want to be doing that. That's not a moderate upgrade whatsoever. Just slightly lighting it the way that we did. So this should be substantially quicker, I imagine. It seems to sound even sportier than it did before. something I do hope that we see on a future Forza game is actual mods make a physical difference. It's all well and good, you know, making engines larger or swapping engines out or massively reducing the weight and the like of that, but when it doesn't actually do anything physically different to the car visually, it's a little bit, you know, disconcerting. It takes you out of the game a little bit. So I do hope that when we are stripping interiors for weight, that we lose seats literally in the car, and when we are swapping engines in, we actually see a new engine model in the car. I'd love that kind of detail, to be honest, which I think has been sorely lacking in Forza games for a long while now, when you consider the kind of mods that you can see be done on other games. Yeah, 1 minute 10.437 seconds there for our first lap time, which is rather good. Doesn't put us all that much far off the pace of the stock car's fastest time. Still got some rear end issues in terms of traction, but we've yet to suffer quite as much as a stock car, despite having extra power and extra torque. Reminds me of the old touring car days, with this being against a muscle car. That's the way it used to be back in the old days, the big heavy muscle cars versus the lightweight smaller coupes, which didn't have much power on the straights but had the muscle cars beaten in the corners. That's pretty much what we've done. Definitely faster down here. Not getting up to these kind of speeds before. Actually beaten someone before, and we are beating our stock car's fastest time with a time of 1 minute 4.665. Let's see if we can improve any further than that. Brakes are definitely helping deal with the extra speed into these corners. We're obviously now weighing slightly less, we have less momentum to slow down as well, which is always helpful. And there we go, final improvement there at 1 minute 3.380. So not a massive improvement over the standard car's time of 1 minute 6.517. So yeah, just over 3 seconds quicker, but 3 seconds sometimes makes all the difference on a track, or, you know, say in a drag race, obviously, because this is a far faster car than it was originally. So yeah, a mild improvement, but then again it's a mild amount of improvements anyway, because yeah, we didn't spend all that much in the way of credits. Obviously you can do far more in this game than what I've done. You can swap a newer M3 engine in, you can even swap a V10 M5 engine into it, you can make it all-wheel drive, you can make it far lighter, far more powerful. But obviously this is about moderate upgrades, and I think yeah, this has done a really good, decent job, to be honest. Still in line with the way that the car would be originally, because we've not got a larger engine than what we had originally, because like I said, you can get between a 2 litre and a 2.5 litre inline 4 engine, and we're now at 2.4, and yeah, 260 horsepower really isn't out of the realm of possibility when you consider the age of this car, because there were cars back then that had that kind of power. So yeah, really good car. Certainly appreciate it a little bit more now that I've you know, driven it more than I would usually, and given it the time of day when it comes to upgrades. Now this is probably going to be the final episode for this series, purely because I think there's not that many cars that you can actually do this kind of series on, but I'm open to suggestions if you've got any more. But I would definitely like to bring this back when the new Forza Motorsport game comes out, because I feel like a proper track focused game would benefit this series a lot more, and there's going to undoubtedly be far more cars on that game to try out, and far more new upgrades to try out on that game as well. So yeah, either way, I look forward to seeing you in whatever I do put out next, and yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.